So here's some tips, 9 tips to be exact, for a good oral presentation. You should know your audience, strictly follow time limits, which every session should have a moderator that will help you to follow the time limits. Don't forget to rehearse in front of a friend. Check the room in advance before you go to the presentation room, and familiarize yourself with the audio and visual equipment. Don't forget to start confidently. Maintain eye contact with your audience during your presentation. Use transitions effectively. These are just pauses or just transition words as you transition from one idea to another. And at the end, you should encourage questions and discussions. And it's also important, as important it is to start confidently, it's also equally important to have a good closing. And you can ensure you have a natural closing to your talk. So number 1, know your audience. If you're attending a very specialized conference, then your material can be highly technical. Or if you have like a society meeting, and if you have a general audience, then you can tailor your talk to fit like a general audience or a specialized audience. It just depends on the conference that you're going to. So understand the composition of your audience. Remember that your research is meant to be heard and not read. And don't forget that audiences typically have a limited attention span. So you want to capture their attention during your talk and hold it for the entirety. So what should you do? You should use clear and simple language during your talk. Be simple and straightforward. If you have lots of technical terms, make sure to explain what they mean. Use quotations and examples sparingly. Structure your talk with background and findings and conclusion, just like a scientific paper is presented. That's a great way to structure your talk. And use clear and simple language as much as possible. And at the end, don't forget to provide a quick recap of points whenever needed. Don't forget to strictly follow time limits. If you have like 15 minutes for your talk, then you should limit yourself to about 1 minute per slide. So maybe you should have only 15 slides. It is unlikely that you'll be the only speaker scheduled for that day. So there'll be other talks in your symposium and at the conference. And it's important to stick to the time limits because often there are concurrent sessions, meaning there's more than one session going on at the same time. And a lot of attendees like to go from room to room and catch all the talks. So if you go over or someone else goes over time, you may throw the schedule off for the entire room and result in people missing talks. So remember to strictly follow time limits. If you have a good moderator, they'll give you a cue with usually 2 minutes to go or 1 minute to go. It just depends on the moderator and the conference, and they should be able to tell you like when you will get the warnings. So pay attention to that, and ensure that your slides, you prepare your slides based on the time allocated to you. And a good rule of thumb is 1 minute per slide. Rehearse in front of a friend. This is a good idea to do this before the conference. And remember, mentally going through your talk will take lesser time than when presenting in front of an audience. So if you have a 10-minute student presentation and when you're rehearsing, it's only taking you 6 minutes, don't worry. When you're actually giving your presentation, it will take longer than when you practice. So if you finish a few minutes short, then there's no need to worry. So rehearse your talk. You can practice your talk with the slideshow feature on PowerPoint. You can even consider recording a video. Don't forget to check the room in advance. If possible, visit the actual room where you will make your presentation and test the technology you intend to use in the assigned room. Sometimes it will give you a remote control, like a pointer, So you can check, see if the laser works and the slide advance works, and be prepared to improvise in case something goes wrong. If the pointer doesn't work, then be prepared to use your mouse. You can probably see my mouse cursor on the screen. So you can use that instead of a laser pointer. And sometimes they'll even have a stick pointer, and you can walk up to the screen and you can point with a stick or just point with your hands. One important thing to note, be careful with the laser and don't point it up on the ceiling and around the room. That will distract your audience. At every conference, I see a couple talks with the laser going wild around the room. So be careful when using the laser pointer. It's very important to start confidently. The initial 10 to 20 seconds of your session will mark whether or not you'll be able to gain the audience's confidence and attention. So it's important to make a first impression, and how you begin your presentation matters a great deal. If you start on a good foot, your talk will most likely go very, very well.